I'm Michelle.
And I'm Lisa, and this is what happens before Boca.
Hey, Lise.
Hey, Michelle.
Welcome back to Before Boca.
Welcome back, everyone.
Episode 3. Can you believe it?
I can't believe it. Exciting.
Exciting, right?
Yeah.
So 2 days ago was our actual launch, and we just wanted to say a quick thank you for all the love, support, emails, views, passing ons of the podcast.
Constructive comments.
Yes. We were blown away by how much support and love we got. So thank you guys. Keep sharing it. Mm-hmm. But we were just so grateful and thankful.
We're definitely out of our comfort zone a little bit, and it just felt like so good to get so much positive feedback and the love. So we were feeling it. Thanks. Keep sharing with your extended community, because obviously we're in our little bubble here, but we want to really broadcast it out there.
Yeah. So we didn't film last week because we had hard weeks.
Yeah.
What were you doing?
So I brought Jake, my 18-year-old, out to California. He moved out there for a job, and it was tough. I have to say, this was a tough one. Jake's always been my little buddy. He has type 1 diabetes, so it was a lot to let him go and launch and grow, but that's our job as parents, and he's happy. But we were weepy. You were weepy too.
Yeah, we're both losing our babies to California this week.
I left my heart in San Francisco.
I know. It was so my daughter is a sophomore in college, and she left to go back after being home for break. And I mean, obviously we can talk about this in another episode, but having them home and then having them go is really hard. It's you just get used to them not being here, and then you get used to them being here. And when they leave, it was really hard. I think it was especially hard because my hormones were all messed up this week, I think, from this HRT. And I was very weepy and very sad. I felt like her leaving was breaking my heart, almost worse than when we dropped her off at college, which was weird.
Yeah.
It's she's a sophomore already. I should kind of be used to it.
Right. You don't get used to it, though.
But you don't get used to it. And I was just used to her feminine energy in the house, used to having her as my buddy. And then she left. And even though she was happy to go back, I was really sad.
Yeah. I was on the plane and my screen wasn't working. So I asked the stewardess to reset it. And I was weepy, I think, because of Jake, but also I was really hot. I don't know if my HRT patch needs upping or whatever, but the hormones
they're playing a part.
It's trouble.
We can't ignore them.
Yeah, we cannot ignore them.
So we were just now reacclimating to the quiet.
Yes. And speaking of quiet, it kind of leads us into our episode, because what we tried to do, our mission for this week, was to eliminate 2 behaviors that we don't love and we don't want to carry into this next rendition of our lives. And they are complaining and criticizing. Bitch-ass complaining and being critical.
Mean girls.
Mean girls. We don't want to do it.
Yep. So what we did was we gave ourselves a week, which, by the way, was so advantageous of us. Why would we do a week and not 24 hours? I have no idea.
Right.
But we gave ourselves a week to really try to not only eliminate these behaviors, but to understand when we were doing them, how we were doing them, who are we doing them with, why were we doing them, and we logged them in a journal. And then when we were done, we sort of came together and formulated our thoughts and feelings and opinions on why and how we were doing this and how it was impacting us.
Right. So I will say, I didn't log in a journal. I logged on my phone in my notes app, and it was, the first few were okay, I just have to get out of the practice of doing this. We're just starting off the week. But as I'm now scrolling into the 100th page of my notes and seeing them in writing, it makes it really real. This is not a one-off. This is a habitual behavior. And another thing is, it was really hard to go into this week in Newark Airport. This is...
We should have thought about that.
We should have thought about that. Newark Airport has, it's been nutty lately, but it was especially nutty on this day. I think because we traveled, right after the new year, and probably everybody was going back, at the end of their break. And the gate agent... The gate was chaos. It was a full flight to San Francisco. And the gate agent decides that he's going to pick this day not to use his microphone to announce who's boarding, early boarding. He's going to work the crowd. He's moving in and out throughout the crowd, high-fiving everybody, Happy New Yearing everybody. It is not working. Nobody could hear. Nobody's on the right lines. Nobody's boarding at the right time. Nobody wants a jolly old soul at the gate.
Not a fan.
Be efficient. So I'm standing there and I am like, my body is like pulsating inside. I have so much to say about this. I have so many complaints, so many criticisms, and I am standing there and I am
biting your tongue.
Biting my tongue, literally. And Jake's like looking at me. He's kind of looking at me funny. And after like a few minutes goes by, or like a half hour goes by because this process was not working, he's like, what's your problem? And you know what my problem was? I wasn't criticizing or complaining. And you know what also my problem was? The fact that he was noticing that that's a problem.
Like that you normally would have been.
That I normally would have been was like really eye-opening.
Right. A little wake-up call. Well, I think we realized too, it's like, I almost called it like, it's our constant soundtrack. It's like the soundtrack, the background noise. It's like almost like our form of communication. It's like, this is what it is. So I think a good place to sort of start is like, what were we complaining about and who do we criticize?
Right.
So why don't you start?
So I'll start with complaining or criticizing?
Criticizing.
Okay, so criticizing, I would say my biggest criticism now is driving. Other drivers. Family members driving.
Yeah.
I have 2 new drivers in the house who have their permits, plus 2 older teenage / 21-year-old drivers and a husband. And I am like slow and steady driving. I'm 10 and 2 or like 9 and 3. I don't curse at other people. I don't cut other people off. I switch lanes appropriately, looking over my shoulder. I'm all about the rule following, and they are not. So it literally drives me crazy. And I don't want to be that person that's constantly like, don't do this or don't do that. So I'm like a passive complainer and criticizer, I think.
In the driving.
Per se. And instead of just like coming out right and saying it, I'm like, and I hold on and
body language criticism.
Body language criticism. It's a thing. And people notice.
Criticize with your eyes, with your sighing.
Yeah, you think it makes it better, but it doesn't. You're still criticizing and complaining. So that's a big one. The other thing is clothes choices. I like dressing up. I have appropriate clothes for appropriate occasions. That's my thing. And when people don't, I'm like, is that what you're wearing? Are you wearing those dirty sneakers to
like
Nobu?
Your kids, you mean?
Yeah, my kids, even Gary sometimes. I mean, I buy Gary a lot of his clothes, but he tends to go back to like the same thing.
Yeah.
And so I'm critical of it, but who am I? Like, I don't know.
Who are we? Who the hell are we?
What are you complaining?
Well, it's funny you said the driving because it was like actually one of the first things on my list, but it's like, before I get to that, I noticed that I was much more critical of myself than I realized. And it was mostly in my head, but every time I would like look in the mirror, I'd be like, ugh, and like I'd pick out something about myself that I wasn't happy with, and I'd focus on that. And that was like kind of disappointing to see, and like sort of recognize, because I didn't think of myself as that kind of person, but I realized that there was.
And you don't practice what you preach,
right? Like I'm not necessarily criticized. It was like mostly like physicality stuff, right? Like, oh, that wrinkle, or
Well, I think that's also the time of life that we're in. We tend to see things, and things are popping up a lot.
Right. So that was definitely one. The driving, yes, like Craig is the driver in our family, but if he like does like a fast acceleration, I'll get so mean and be like, stop. Like I get nauseous. I don't like when he does that. So that could be a criticism.
The thing with the driving though is when I criticize Gary's driving, he always looks at me and he says, why don't you drive? But I don't want to do that.
I don't want to.
So why am I criticizing if I don't want to actually do something about it?
I know. It's funny. I don't like want to drive either, but I just want him to drive slow.
Yeah.
The clothing is definitely one. And it's funny because Stella like knew we were doing this challenge. And one day she was going to come to Nate's hockey game with us. So she literally like set her alarm, rolled out of bed, like, brushed her teeth and came down. And I was about to be like, is that what you're wearing?
Right.
And she saw it on my face and she's like, what? And I was like, nothing, you look great, let's go.
You.
And it was like, I really had to pause and have that reflection for that moment, because I knew like if I just like let myself go, what I was going to say. So that is definitely one. Another one, which is also interesting and directed at more at my son, is like when he's playing hockey, I will either out loud to whoever's sitting next to me, which is usually my husband, I'll like be like, oh, why did he take that shot? Or, oh, why isn't he skating harder? You know, and it's so funny. Like, I don't play hockey. I've never played hockey. I don't even know how to skate. I don't even know the rules really. But I am like being so critical of what he's doing, even though it amazes me what he can do on skates. I'm being critical.
Right.
So those were some of the main themes that I saw in terms of my criticisms.
Right.
Yeah.
What about complaints?
So my complaints I noticed were, had some also categorizations, but one I noticed, like maybe it was the first day we were doing this, I worked out with my trainer and I work out with one of our other best friends and a mom, the trainer's a mom from town. And anytime she's giving us any sort of instruction, I'm like, I'm acting as if like I didn't pay her to tell me what to do. Right. I get so agitated and I'm like, oh, 5 more? How many? We have to use the 10s instead of the 8s. Like I'm complaining the whole time. And so the whole time we were working out, I just didn't complain, but I also like didn't talk. I know. Because I felt like if I opened my mouth, I was going to complain.
Right. I felt like I lost my voice with this process.
Lost my voice.
Which is a little scary because is our voice just full of complaints and criticisms?
I don't know, but I did feel like I was like Silent Bob. And I have to ask Rachel if she noticed because I talked about it with my trainer on the way out and I told her what we were doing and she's like, yeah, you actually were really good today. And I was like, okay. The other thing I noticed I complain about a lot is discomfort. So like,
that's a common complaint.
Yeah, like if my back hurts, if like I have a really annoying cough that comes back every year, I will complain about that a lot. I also complained a lot about the weather, the cold. Like we weren't away for the Christmas break. So I was very cognizant of how cold it was. I was constantly looking at my thermometer in my car, like it's 28, it's freezing, my hands are chapped, it's cold. Like I had a lot of like talk about coldness and like that discomfort.
We should enjoy the seasons. It's not like it gets cold every year.
And I tried to say to myself like, okay, this is invigorating. It's like a cold plunge. Like you should enjoy the brisk air as you walk outside. But that was kind of hard.
So I asked Gary the other day, what do I complain about? Because I wanted to hear from his perspective. And he said something, well, he said like deadpan everything. And I was like, are you joking? Kind of made me sad. But it did, like I did think about in terms of complaining, it's usually some sort of like physical ailment. I complain that I'm tired.
Oh, I'm always tired.
I'm always tired, but yet I don't do anything about it. I stay up until 2 a.m. watching Love is Blind Italy, and I wouldn't be complaining that I'm tired if I just went to sleep. I complain that my back hurts, and I don't do anything about it. I don't go to the doctor. I continue doing exercise that is probably irritating my back. So why?
It's like a running
what's the point of it?
Dialogue that just is sort of like one of those things that's like automatic. You don't even realize you're doing it. It's just like what's coming out.
You know what I think with complaining? I think I'm looking for empathy from my husband, and I just don't get it because, or I don't get it in the way that I want it because I dwell on things. Like I dwell on complaining and I want to like, you know this, I want to rehash it. I want to discuss it 100 times. I want an explanation for it. He's always like, you just don't understand. It's going to be written on your gravestone. He is, before I even get the complaint out, he's a problem solver. He's like, make an appointment, do this, do that, go to sleep early. And that's like the difference, I think, between men and women, not to like, be it like stereotypical, but we somewhat crave that complaining because it gives us something to talk about, but we also want empathy from it, and they just want to be like, okay, done, solve it.
If I said to my husband, say like, Lisa really upset me today or annoyed me, he'd be like, don't be friends with her anymore.
Yeah, it's so simple.
Like, just be done.
And they don't complain to their friends.
No, like
ever.
I always talk about that with my friends who are married to his friends. Like we could never picture them sitting around being like, oh, Michelle's so annoying. Listen to what she did today. Like, not that he doesn't think I'm annoying. He definitely does. But like, he's not discussing it with his friends. So I just think there is like this very big difference. So who are you complaining? So you're mostly complaining to Gary, but you're not really
complaining to Gary until he gets like tired of it, or if he's not picking up the phone during the day, and then I'm complaining. And I think we have friends that we complain to for different reasons. Like people can understand or relate to different things that we're complaining about. But it is mostly my husband. How about you?
So I have a standing phone call with one of my best friends. Our moms were best friends growing up, and then we became best friends in high school, and then we went to college together. And every single morning before I go to work, I call her on my way to work, and like as I'm like eating my morning breakfast, and we do a download of the day before. And I have to say, probably 80% of it is us complaining, venting, sharing, but mostly it's like the things that have frustrated us, we're upset about. You know, yes, it's some logistical stuff too, but that's certainly like part of it, right? And I feel like that's like our space that we created to do that. So I would say I'm solely a friend complainer. Like I really don't complain to Craig because I don't want to hear just the solution.
Yeah.
And I think that I'm a friend complainer.
And I think that's also like touches on a little bit of the difference between, it doesn't feel so bad when if you're complaining, you know, we all say like, I don't want to complain, but I mean, we have like pretty nice lives. We don't have a lot to be complaining about. And you do feel bad when people have sorrows in their lives that, you know, who are we to complain? I don't think the complaining is as bad as the criticizing. The criticizing feels a little bit more wrong.
Right. Especially because I felt like the majority of it for me was either directed at myself or the people that I love the most, which is like, why? You know, that felt like an interesting kind of discovery.
And I felt kind of guilty with the criticism in that, who am I to judge? Like, who am I to think that somebody is like not as smart as me? Like everybody's just doing the best that they can.
Of course.
That feels a little bit more evil.
Right. Okay. So then we start to think about, why are we doing this? Like, why does it feel so good? And I think we came up with like a pretty comprehensive list as to like why. So the first one was because it was bonding.
Yes.
And we were really looking for like consensus, like validation, like someone else to go, totally, like I agree with you 100%.
It feels good. Somebody else can relate.
Totally feels good.
The second one was entertaining. It's funny. It's, you know, we all have witty friends and it makes it like entertaining conversation.
Couldn't agree more. Okay. This third one I think is actually like my favorite, which is, I think it feels authentic. And it's like the opposite of toxic positivity. It's like you sharing the real with your friends. Like when Dana and I are talking, it's like we're sharing the real in our morning debriefs. It's like we're not trying to sugarcoat anything. We're just being dead honest. And I think there's something...
It's authentic.
It's authentic. So I feel like it's... Yeah.
I think it's funny because like Jake saying to me, what's wrong with you? I think it's a little inauthentic to just try to exist, not complaining, not criticizing. It takes away from like a little bit of your persona, like who you are.
Right. And you want to be honest about the ugly parts of life too. You don't always be like, oh, everything's great. My marriage is great. My life is great. Like there are real parts that aren't so great. I think if we could just save the complaining for the real parts and not like the background stuff, I think that might feel different.
So the next thing was insightful, just making observations that happen to be negative. I mean, there are things in life that are negative. Like we just have to be honest about that. Like you said, not everything is going to be perfect.
And when you're like somebody who likes to overanalyze or really like think about things from a deeper perspective, I feel like it just feels like you're almost just making an observation or an insight. But you know, if they're negative all the time or they're, you know, more complaining or you know, it's not great, but it's what feels good because it feels like you're just making insights.
So I think like we'll get to this with the takeaways, but if you could just eliminate half of your criticisms and complaints, it feels like better. You feel like healthier, happier.
Right. Okay. The next one was like too much time on your hands, right? Like if you're stressed or you're bored, this is why it feels good to like fill your time a little bit with some of the complaining and the whatever. I call it like microtherapy. It's like when you are talking to your friends and you're just like need a little bit of, you don't want to go to a whole therapy session.
No, they're like nano complaints.
Right, nano complaints with some nano complaining and some, you know, some good validation, some back and forth. I think that's why it also feels good because you can sort of do it on the spot and have that connection with a friend.
Right. I think you mentioned when we were talking about this topic, why older people complain so much. And you said kind of plays into like our previous 2 episodes. It's boredom and feeling overwhelmed. People complain when they're bored because it fills time, and people complain when they're overwhelmed because actually a lot of complaints and criticisms stem from anxiety.
Exactly. So I think that's like what we talked about in our first 2 episodes, and I think that's why if you are less bored and if you are less overwhelmed, you probably would complain less.
So this kind of like segues into like this whole Jewish thing, because when we were talking about this episode, we were kind of laughing because it's like a little bit like cultural, like Jews do complain, and it's not really, it's more commentary. It's just like became like a way of life. Like I remember like talking to my grandparents, and you would say, "How are you?" And they would say, "Well, I can't complain."
But you will.
But you will. It's like when, you know, you don't go into a Jewish home and everybody says, "Oh, I'm talking about like the older generations, not so much us, but like everything is perfect." You don't hear that. There's, you know, like these little things that just play under the radar. Like the food could be delicious, but it wasn't that hot. You know, the weather could be beautiful, but at least it didn't rain. It is like a Jewish thing.
Yeah. So we actually did a little research on this to see if there was actually any like solid findings on this. And we actually found this really funny article that was
a great article.
It was really good. In Kveller, Dr. Diana Boxer, she's a linguist, conducted some research in the 80s, and she did have 2 important findings. One was that indeed complaining was more prevalent in certain ethnic groups, including Judaism. And 2, there was 2 different kinds of complaining. One was direct, like, my steak is undercooked, could you take it back? And then there was the indirect complaining, which is kind of what we've been talking about, like just making observations like, "Oh, it's so hot in here," you know, that kind of a thing.
Right.
And then she tried to like figure out like why, like what was the reason that Judaism might have more complaining. And I thought these were also very interesting. The first was that complaining is a form of questioning things, and in Judaism you are encouraged to question things, maybe more so than other religions or other cultures. So we are constantly questioning and pondering things, and that might be one of the reasons. And the other was that we have an aversion to bragging. It's like the opposite of saying everything is great. We feel more comfortable when like we're not in that kind of mindset. So I think it was like almost like what you were saying before of like the but, like my kids are great, but. So I think that was an interesting finding. I don't, you know, I don't think it's strictly Judaism, and I certainly don't think it's every Jewish person, but I thought it was an interesting culture, especially we were talking about like the Larry David piece and the Seinfeld piece and all those.
I think of like my aunts, like or my great aunts, they would like poo everything. Everything's like a poo or like a reverse jinx. I think with Judaism, it is. It's like, you know, if you don't do it, then something bad will happen. So you have to kind of get the little bit negative in there.
Right.
It's interesting. With Larry David and Seinfeld, I think that they're saying everything that we want to say, but we can't say because it would be it wouldn't be good.
Right.
So it's like the commentary, it's like their commentary becomes their persona, but we can't do that because if that commentary became our persona, if we were Elaine and rolling our eyes at everything and just like spewing what's on the top of what's on our minds, what's like wants to come out of our mouths.
Oh, it's Howard Stern too, right?
It's Howard Stern too. He actually does it, and he doesn't ask for forgiveness, but we wouldn't have any friends. Our family would hate us. So at what point does observational humor become dangerous? And I think when it becomes your persona, that's when it becomes dangerous.
Well, we also were talking about, like, obviously behavioral science tells us that complaining and criticizing is not good for us, but we kind of wanted to figure out like why, what is the science behind it? So I love this one neuroscientist on Instagram. Her name's Emily McDonald, and she has a great page. I love sending her clips to patients because she explains things in such like a simplistic way. So her video on this was like, when you complain, you're actually weakening your brain because you become less focused and productive, and you are actually changing part of your brain, which is your prefrontal cortex, which is the part of your brain responsible for problem solving, for emotional regulation. So when you are constantly firing off this neurological pathway, these neurons are firing together. It's like what she calls Hebb's law. It means what fires together, wires together. So if you are constantly telling yourself the same kinds of complaints over and over again, you can't see a different version.
Right.
It's like the only version you can see. So you stop problem solving and you only see the problem. You can't see the solution.
Right. And you're only happy when you're not happy.
Right.
And it makes sense because like in the moment, the complaints, the criticisms feel good. They're like satisfying something that we need, but afterwards they don't feel so good. And
correct.
There lies the dilemma.
There lies the dilemma.
So when we were researching for this episode, I told Michelle I came across this quote by Eleanor Roosevelt, and she said, "Great minds discuss ideas, average minds discuss events, and small minds discuss people." And she wasn't saying, and if you think about that for a second, it makes a lot of sense. She wasn't saying that people who complain or criticize are bad. She was saying when all your energy stays in that reaction mode, there's no room for ideas. And so I kind of thought about that in like the sense of like when I was criticizing or complaining, I was always annoyed, I was activated, I was stirred up, and none of that actually fixes anything.
No.
It actually makes it worse. So it's unrealistic to say that we're never going to complain or criticize. I think with everything in moderation sounds like doable. Like not so much complaining and criticizing where it becomes our personality, but not too little where we're losing our personality.
Right. Like, so let's talk about some of our takeaways from this, because I think that if I were to say like what I'd want to bring with me to the next chapter that I think is realistic, it would be to reduce criticism specifically of myself and of my family.
Agree.
That would be like the thing. I think the complaining to me still feels like borderline part of just being authentic, and like it's not like I'm never going to talk about the good things that are happening, but I certainly can't not talk about the things that are annoying me or the hard things that are happening.
Completely agree.
I also think like complaining is contagious. So I think when one person starts to be critical or complaining, it's very like feels good to jump in and do that with them.
Yeah, it's bonding.
It's bonding. And then the other piece is like thinking, I was really trying to think about like what would be the opposite of being complaining and critical. And to me, that was like being grateful and more positive. So I did find that in the moments I was being extremely good, like I'd set an intention, like, okay, don't, I was much kinder. I was much more positive.
Accepting.
I was much more accepting. I let things go. And I did feel like a calm.
Right. I felt the same way. It's funny, when I left Jake, we had breakfast before, I came back on Sunday, and we were talking about this experiment, and he said to me, but like, why, Mom? Like, what's the big deal? You're observing. Like, what are you going to just be mute? You're not going to complain. You're not going to criticize. And I said to him, like, my takeaways for even just that short weekend were, I don't want my kids to look back and say like, oh, my mom was such a complainer, or she was overly critical. I don't want my friends to feel that way. I don't want my husband to feel that way. So I want to do it, like you said, a little bit more intentionally. Like, if I'm going to complain, I'm going to have to get comfortable with finding a resolution for what I'm complaining about. And I am going to try to criticize much less, because I do think that it impacts relationships.
Yes, and I think too, I found that I was repeating a lot of complaints.
Yes.
Like I'd have the conversation with maybe Dana in the morning, and then I'd have the conversation with Rachel in the afternoon, and then I'd have the conversation with you later, and then and I'm like, this isn't helping. Like I'm just repeating the same conversation. I don't feel
like
any different.
Record.
It's a broken record. So why am I doing this? This doesn't feel smart. It just feels like a waste of air. And so I did notice when I was being intentional about it, I would stop myself, like, there's no reason to tell the story again. There's no reason to repeat this thought or this annoyance. It's not changing anything. So actually, I like that as a good takeaway too.
And what are you going to get anything out of it? I was annoyed when I was away also, because the hotel had valet service, and you were supposed to text them when you wanted your car. And so the few times that I went out to pick Jake up, I would text them, and I would go down and I'd be like, my car's going to be ready. And my car wasn't ready. The kid was on his phone. And the first time I was like, oh, I texted you. And he said, oh, I didn't, it just came through or something like that. And the second time I was like, like almost like passively aggressive about it. And I was like, oh, I guess my texts aren't working. And so I think with my criticism, if I am annoyed about something with service or something that is I can express, I'm just going to express it. I'm not going
Straightforward.
to straightforward. Direct. And I think that that's like it's constructive criticism, but I'm also going to temper that because constructive criticism inside my house comes across more of like nitpicking.
Right, like for why.
And why. Like, you just impact your relationship and they're not going to change.
And I also have to think to myself, like, is this a necessary thing to say?
Yeah.
If it's not necessary, if this criticism isn't keeping someone safe or it's not like majorly changing an outcome, is it necessary?
Exactly.
So even though we weren't supposed to be critical this week, we still have to think about what we are into and what we are over, which I guess sort of feels like a complaint. But we're going to go with it since we have fun doing it.
You want me to go first? Mm-hmm. Okay, so what I'm really into this week is weaning down my shoe collection because I have 600 pairs of shoes. Most of them I can't walk in anymore, and most of them I shouldn't be wearing. And for what? I don't need all of them. I go to the same shoes all the time. So I'm going to concentrate on what shoes I wear the most and what are the most comfortable and safe. So this week I'm really into these boots, which are a substitute for the UGG because I'm kind of getting sick of the UGGs and I'm over the Uggs. So they're called Muse, not Mew Mew, don't worry, they're not that expensive. MOU, and you've seen mine. They're like sort of like an Eskimo looking UGG.
I love them, but I feel like for me they're too high, like on the platform. Like I would twist my ankle or I'll be too tall.
I'm so glad you said that because they made a lower one this year without the platform. And they're just comfortable. You slip in, you're out the door. The second thing that I'm into, and I'm wearing them today, they've been around forever.
I feel like they're too tall for me, but I love those.
They've been around forever. So my friend Rachel, I love clogs, and our friend Rachel, whenever I wear clogs, she's like, why are you wearing clogs? You're gonna, twist your ankle. And I have done that before, but I love clogs. I love the look. I love the height for me because I'm on the shorter, more petite side. They come in different colors. This is a new color.
So great.
They're so pretty, and you don't have to wear them with socks. They're warm. They go with every outfit. You can dress them up. You can dress them down.
Wear them to the barn.
You can wear them to the barn. You can clean the bottom. Number 6s. We will link them. You want me to do my over?
Yeah, what's your over?
Okay, my over is a criticism about myself. I shop way too much. It's like literally out of control. And when I walk into my closet, I have so many things to wear, but what goes with what?
You forget.
You forget what you buy. It gets shoved in. So what I am over is having too much clothes. I don't like capsule. I want a curated wardrobe. Edited wardrobe. I want 3 pairs of jeans that I love, 2 pairs of pants that I love, 2 going out outfits, 2, whatever, evening dresses. And that's what I'm going to wear on repeat. My friends will still love me. Nobody will criticize me.
Nope.
And I won't criticize myself.
Exactly. I like that.
How about you?
All right. So I'm doing media things this week because I've been into 2 specific media things. The first is a podcast, Beth's Dead. Did you listen to this? Okay. Mm-hmm. So Monica Padman from Armchair Expert did like one of her spinoffs. And it's about these 2 podcasters who, I'm not going to give away anything about the show, but had a podcast, and one of their listeners took things in a very strange direction and sort of catfished them. And so I love shows about catfishing because I just think the psychology behind it is so interesting. There was that other show, I forget the name, on Netflix about the mom who catfished her own daughter. Like,
I can't think of the name.
Insane. She like pretended to be like bullying her. It was very bizarre. But anyway,
insane. It's psychotic.
And it always makes me feel a little bit better about my own catfishing episode where a police officer,
not laughing, but I'm
someone
laughing.
Impersonating a police officer tried to scam me out of $10,000. And let me just tell you, like, he took it a little far. Now, he didn't get any money from me. But when someone portrays themselves in a way that makes you feel like he knew my birthday, he knew this, he knew that, my address, he just knew things. And I was able to place what he was asking into something that was actually happening in my life, and it made sense. So you can, you know,
see why you fall prey
you
to it.
can see why you fall prey. So that is one of them. What I'm over is just a general feeling. I am over the supermarket.
Ugh, I hate we all hate the supermarket. Don't pretend anybody likes it.
And I know we can Instacart, okay, but two things. Like when I was little, my mom used to always complain about the supermarket, and I'd be like, what is she complaining about?
It's not such a big deal.
I hate thinking of what to buy. I hate thinking of planning the dinners. I hate bringing in the bags. I hate unpacking everything. I hate then when everyone comes in and is like, you didn't buy this, you didn't buy that. There's still nothing to eat in the house. Like, I hate
all of it. Hate it.
all of it. And shout out to one of my best friends from growing up, Rose, when we used to sleep at her house and her mom would come home from food shopping and she'd be like, we'd be sleeping like for a sleepover. She'd be like, girls, come help with the bags, girls. And we would be like, oh. Like, I get it now. And then when no one comes out and helps me with the bags, I feel furious about that.
Yeah. I am so bad. I hate the supermarket, and Gary knows that, and he's kind of like the cook in our family, the chef in our family, so he'll go to the supermarket and he texts on his way home and he's like, come on, help with the bags, everybody. I don't want to help with the bag. I don't like the supermarket. I don't want to help with the bags.
If Craig goes to the supermarket, he buys the two things we need. Like, he's like, I got milk and eggs. I'm like, oh, that's going to feed the family for the whole, like, it's just the whole thing.
Talking about critical, Gary will come home with this like thing of olives, and like we always joke like the boys are gonna have like olives for dinner. I not only do not like going to the supermarket or the bags, I also don't like what he brings home.
I know.
It's critical.
Okay, the other thing I'm into, and you're gonna prepare to blush because is Heated Rivalry. It's a show on HBO. Do you know what I'm talking about? Of course you do not know what I'm talking about. I feel like, are you the only middle-aged woman who doesn't know what I'm talking about? Okay, so Heated Rivalry is a show on HBO. It's totally fake. It's fictional, about two supposed NHL players who are gay, and this show is incredible. The story was incredible. The chemistry between the men.
I'm not blushing so much.
What?
I'm not blushing so much.
Yeah, okay, if you watched it, you'd be blushing. But what I actually am loving right now is all the Instagram reels that these women are making about it. There are some really funny women out there. I'm gonna link some of my favorite ones because
people are funny.
Rachel and I were both obsessed with the show, and we were sending each other the funniest Heated Rivalry Instagram reels all week because they were freaking hilarious.
I love reels.
The other thing I am over is texting instead of phone calls. Okay, we're children of the 90s.
Yep.
I want someone to pick up the phone and call me. I miss the days of being in my room growing up. I had a room that was like a finished attic. It was very big. And I had a phone that had like a 20-foot wire.
The best.
And I would pace back and forth in my room, and the cord would get all twisted.
Oh, yeah.
In a knot.
There's no untwisting it. My mom could untwist it, but there was no untwisting it.
It was like
something about
evidence
it, though.
of the phone calls. I miss the three-waying.
It's a lost art.
I miss the caller, like the what was it called? Like emergency breakthroughs.
Oh, Vivian did not like that.
I miss all of it. I love talking on the phone. If you want to just text me, you're like 5 minutes away, fine. But if you want to tell me a story, I want you to pick up the phone and call me.
It's so funny because my mom always says, why don't you just pick up the phone? And I used to be like, well, I don't have time. I just text. But now I see what she's saying. It is a lost art, and I feel like our kids are not the better for it.
No. So.
Over.
Okay. And our podcast is over.
Our podcast is over. So tune in next week when we share with you
a lot of wisdom.
We're going to share with you our favorite mantras. You will love it. Thanks for tuning in. Follow us on Instagram. Share with your friends.
See ya.
Before Boca.